This is a Your Last Resorts production.
And welcome back to Your Last Resort podcast with your host, Brandon Legendre. This week is episode 105. And guys, joining me very soon will be my very, very, very special guests, the birthers of my life, my parents, Alison and Stacey Legendre. They'll be joining, guys. This was a fun podcast. There were actually 2 episodes filmed. The first one was lost. We kind of, I recalled some stories that I had shared with them and experiences, and we kind of recounted them and saw how different our visions of them were. And then my dumbass forgot to record or clear iPhone storage. And then I deleted the wrong video. I deleted this week's episode instead of last week's when I tried to clear space to record the parts that we missed, and I lost the whole fucking episode. And oh man, that was probably the angriest I have been in a while, probably since I was on here solo screaming about the TSA agent from Britain. That was probably the last time I was that angry. But dude, it ended up working out. I seriously, I cannot thank anyone enough who wrote in questions. There were so many people. I couldn't remember the names of everyone who wrote in, but like I was in such a sad mood. I couldn't come up with a new way to film it. I was trying to figure out new guests. I really want to have my parents on because I thought it's so cool for you guys to kind of see a different side of the podcast with comedians, musicians normally being the guests, to get just kind of 2 normal people, but the 2 people that shaped this weirdo. It's an interesting concept. So I'm glad it turned out this way, but they wrote in some really introspective questions. We talked about some things from what they think my worst trait as a son is, to regrets they had in life, to did they ever think that I would grow up to be a stand-up comedian. Super fun. If you guys are listening to this, I'm recording this before I edit, so there's going to be 2 ways. It's either going to have been that the interview comes in, you hear my mom's interview, and then you hear my dad's interview with the same questions, or I might splice it up where every question you hear my mom's, then you hear the question again, and you hear my dad's answer. Got to kind of figure out if it's too chaotic. I don't want you guys fucking vomiting trying to follow what's going on in the podcast. But other than that, guys, at the end, you heard me. I don't have any shows or dates to plug this week. It was a busy fucking March. You know, you hit up people for favors, get booked on stuff. They can't book you. Getting a little bit lighter. April, still got several shows. And then, goddamn, May's already popping, bro. I'm going to have weekends in Dallas, Houston, Austin, LA, and San Diego coming up in all of May. I'm going to be all over. I think I'm going to come up and just call it a tour. Just those dates, call it a tour. Come up with some funny name, make a funny fucking poster for it that you guys will like on Instagram. That'll be the only thing. I think I'm going to call it like the I'm staying on my mom's couch for most of this tour. Like something like that, you know? But so goddamn excited. I got my first show I'm producing coming up in March 2, Last Resort Comedy at Oscar Blues Brewing. Yeah, I'm just excited. This week was really cool, though. The 2 things that I kind of want to tell you about is I had some cool events. One of them is that I got to go to Blind Tiger this weekend, which is a club down in San Antonio. Love it. Shout out them. They put me on the midnight show with my parents being in town. They wanted to go see San Antonio. I got the opportunity for them to kind of see me to see me at a club for the first time ever, for real. They've only seen me in barber shops, bars, backyards, weird locations, but they finally now got to see me perform on a real stage in one of the best comedy venues in all of Texas. And I had a great set, and it was super fun for them to kind of get to see me do that. I loved showing them in that. It was a very proud moment. I you want to impress your parents, and I think that I could see through them that I think every time that they've seen me do stand-up, as you know, they see me do it every couple months, that to them I progress exponentially, which I think as a comedian, when you're doing it every day, it's hard to kind of see your own growth. When your friends who see you every day, it's hard for them to see it. Even my girlfriend, who sees me perform so many times, so often, hears all my stupid fucking premises, everything. It's hard for her to see me grow. So when you get to see them every month, and obviously they're my parents, they're not gonna be mean, but I also know them. If I had a bad set, I would have been like, that's a rough one, and they'd been like, yeah, but for them to be impressed with how much I've grown as a comic, the confidence and all that, the way I come on and command a stage, it was very cool. It was a very good moment for me. It's one of those moments where in a business that is basically I'm going out and being like, hey, everyone, hey, random strangers, tell me if I'm good or not. Tell me if I'm worthy of your applause and praise. It's a very subjective job, subjecting your feelings to strangers and random people on something comedy that's interpretive. It's not anyone's one. Obviously Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle, but there's people that don't think Dave Chappelle is funny. That's insane. So it's just subjective of what you believe it is. So I got to do that. That was super awesome. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was that I got to see TJ Miller perform, which was really, really cool. That's one of the cool things about being in Austin is we have the Creek and the Cave, this awesome comedy club that loves comics, lets us hang out there, lets it be like a home of misfits for us, lets us in the show. I got to see TJ Miller do a midnight show on a Wednesday. God damn, was it good. He's amazing. Dude, he did like 2 bits in the whole 55 minutes or whatever he did, and it was hilarious from top to bottom. It's insane. I can't wait till the day that I'm at that level. I look forward to it. Look forward to touring. But damn, man, great weekend with my parents. Great having them in town. Now, I hope that you can enjoy the episode with them coming up. Please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It's just a button. If you're listening right now, please go open your app and do it. It helps me so much. Help me keep track of who's listening, how the podcast is growing. If you're a listener, dude, and you like things or don't like things or got ideas, write them in. I might not listen to them, might not take them, but I always appreciate feedback. And guys, enjoy the episode. And most importantly, thank you for letting us be your last resort. Now have fun with my parents while I ask them some weird questions. See ya. And welcome back to the Your Last Resort podcast. As I said earlier, it's episode 105, and I'm joined by my first guest, my mom, Alison Legendre. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. And for those of you who don't know, if you somehow skipped the intro, I am your host, Brandon Legendre, but that should have been explained in the solo intro. So I also told you that this is the second podcast we are recording, as we did lose the first one yesterday. It was a morally defeating moment.
I'm so sorry. I felt so bad.
It was one of those things where it was only my fault, and when something's only your fault, it's so much more frustrating because you can't blame anyone but yourself.
Right.
And you just are like mad at yourself. So it worked out. This one might even turn out better, so who knows? Or it could be a million times worse, but only we'll know that.
I think it's going to be a million times better. I'm sure of it.
I want to start off with a would you rather. You just saw Batman, so I thought that you could answer this one. Would you rather have Batman's gear or Spider-Man's powers? Because, obviously, being Spider-Man and being able to swing through buildings and stick on walls and having that Spidey sense would be really cool.
Right.
But also having like a Batcopter and he has the car that can turn into a boat and fly. He's got the nicest cars, the best tech. He's a rich guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, he lives a pretty good lifestyle outside of being Batman.
Yeah.
And super cool when you're Batman. So you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you get to, like, be all bougie on the outside.
Because Bruce Wayne is cooler than Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah. Way cooler.
And they talk about it in the new Spider-Man movie, but that, like, in the new one, they, like, find out his identity or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, hey, like, what's, everyone knows who Peter Parker is, and he's like, I'm the most famous broke person ever. Because, yeah, there's nothing with it. But Batman he doesn't have superpowers, but, like, look, I agree. Shooting webs is cool. But having a grappling gun that can do the exact same thing is arguably just as cool.
And that car is so cool.
Exactly. Yeah, Spider-Man takes the subway.
Yeah, I would have to go Batman because you get the best of both worlds.
I agree. I'm with you. So out of 165 votes, only 30 said Batman. So we're in the super minority here, which is pretty crazy.
They didn't think this one through.
No, they didn't. No. They're just like, do I want shooting webs or do I want to be a guy? And it's not that simple.
No, and Batman has like the built-in muscles, even like
his bolt is his thing is Kevlar. He can take shotgun shells to the chest. You know what Spider-Man can't take to the chest? A pistol round. Like he's done a 22 end of Spider-Man's life.
And once he gets a dad bod, that Spider-Man suit's not going to be very flattering.
Yeah, I can get a bigger Batman suit. I got money. Okay, so I'm with you. That was the first Would You Rather. And welcome back to Your Last Resort podcast again. It's episode 105, and joining me, my second and final guest of the podcast, my dad, Stacey Legendre. Thank you for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to move this just a little bit closer to you for volume purposes, but thanks for doing it for a second time, as we did lose the recording of it yesterday. So, like I was saying, I think the saddest part is you guys missed it. We caught the most athletic moment ever of me on camera setting up the podcast, and it's gone. And that's truly what I'm the most sad about losing. But I want to start this one off with a would you rather, and I thought this one was good because I was curious to see what you would answer. Would you rather live in Australia or Asia?
Oh.
I think okay, and let's say you can speak both languages. Because obviously right away you're like, well, I'd rather move to somewhere where I know the language and that. But if, let's say you could speak both languages, what do you think? Because I think I know what you're going to pick.
I think Australia.
I think Australia fits you better. Not that like I think I could see you getting in love with like the community of like because I guess I've only been to Korea is what I'm basing this off of, but like the way that there's like if you live in a neighborhood, like I could see you getting up every morning, going down to like the local market, picking up the food, you know all the ladies that work there, you go to your job, it's something local, like you have some expat style job. Come home. Like I could see you getting along very well in that, like a simple enjoying the culture. But I think you're such a surfer bro, grom, like, ex-grom, surfer guy that being away from the water would be too hard for me. I think that the beach and outdoor, like the outdoorsman style fits you better for Australia.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm assuming that the climate too.
That's
and just the whole setup with the mountains and different things. Like Asia definitely seems interesting to me.
Yeah.
Same thing as culture because I love getting into different kinds of culture anyways.
Yeah.
That's the funnest part about traveling.
Oh, 100%.
But when I think about the humidity and just the whole setup of that,
yeah,
I think Australia, I could probably find my deal a little easier there.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's just it's just the cultural. Like Australians are more like Americans than Asians are like Americans, and that's just the difference between it. And I think it fits you better. Now, I do think you could. The one benefit of you see why I would pick Australia too, because I did love the Asian countries. I think I'm too big for Asian countries. If you look up, and that's not racist. If you look up average heights. People in Asian countries are smaller than other countries. Everything is built smaller. Like I was so much taller and like weirdly taller. And I'm 6'3", which is not a weird tall height in America. I'm just where you're like, oh damn, he's tall, but I'm not freakishly tall.
Right.
6'5" is like where you fall. But in like Korea, it was like over 6 foot. Like even like Zach, my buddy Zach's 5'11", and even he was on the borderline of being like, whoa, that's a big dude. So I think that would be the problem too. Whereas, like, what's not fun? You ever eaten a meal sitting on the ground, crisscross applesauce? Holy shit, is that painful as a tall guy, dude?
Sounds like it.
I could not fit. My back was hurting. I was cramping in my hips. I was taking up the whole space and stuff. So there's definitely a little bit of a cultural difference there. So I'm going with Australia with you too. We are in the majority of 150 votes. 100 said Australia. So, like 75%. So that's kind of what I thought it would be. So when we lost the episode, the original episode was actually that we were recounting some stories that I had remembered as a child and then, or like a young teen and stuff, and recounting them with you and seeing if our stories were different and kind of going over them. But unfortunately, when that lost, I came up with the new idea of just kind of coming up with some deeper questions to ask you. And a bunch of people actually sent in some great questions. So
nice.
The first one I wanted to ask you, and I thought this one was very introspective. Shout out our guest last week, Winston Dean, for coming up with this one. Looking back at 4-year-old me and the personality I had as a kid, does it surprise you that I got into stand-up? Because I know for those who don't, I mean, I believe I've talked about it on here, but I didn't speak really till I was 3, right? I was pretty silent. I was comprehensive, though, you said, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because we never got you tested because I could tell you, Brandon, can you go pick up the red ball and you'd walk right over and grab it?
Yeah.
You just had your own name for things and they're pretty darn cute.
Made-up language,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have seen you in stand-up comedy because you were pretty shy as a kid. I mean, you definitely...
When do you think, because you got to watch me grow up, when do you think I became unshy as a person? Because I agree with you. I think I forgot I was explaining this to her. I was like, I lived both lives of being like kind of a nerd and like bullied to like being a jock and a bully. Like I've done both spectrums of it. Because I mean, it's like I was really into books and I only played baseball for most of my childhood and I wasn't like a football guy and stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, you always made friends really easy.
Yeah.
I think your hardest thing is that, and I always say this, is that you were such a rule follower that I mean, you were the kid who, in kindergarten, we went to the first day of orientation, and they had this little checkerboard set up, and the teacher told them all to sit in their squares. Mm-hmm. And you watch the kids, and they all, eventually everyone's starting to ooze out of their squares, and then they just are off in the corners playing with stuff. And you're just sitting there, and you kept looking back at me like, and I finally had to tell your teacher, I'm like, if you don't excuse him, he'll never get up. And you were just staring like, please, they're all playing, and I'm the only kid still here, but she never said get up. So
That's so funny. I just would have sat there and starved to death for the rest of my life.
You looked like, I went, anyone ever going to say it's okay to get up now? And she goes, Brandon, you can get up. And man, you were just bolted.
That's really funny. What do you think made me such a rule follower? Was there did you guys really implement that as a child, or what do you? I wonder what it was.
I don't know. No, I really do believe that kids are all born with certain personalities, and that, I mean, if you look at you and your two sisters, all three of you have very different personalities.
Yeah, that's very true.
But the same parents and same parenting style with all three of you. It's just that you all have such different personalities, and that's just how you always were. Mm-hmm. You followed me. You weren't like a saint child, but you were a really good kid. You always took ownership of things. I think it's just who you are.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I definitely. I mean, I don't. It's not like I saw myself being, like a stand-up comedian either, obviously, until very recently. So it's definitely one of those things. I mean, when I try to look back at it, because people obviously ask me that question, like, when did you know you were a stand-up comedian? Like, when did you know that? And it's like, I mean, I don't know if I remember a moment, but I do remember that always in my life, everyone's always been like, you were really funny. Yeah. Like, and I always joke, there's that in like junior high and high school, you start getting Facebook, and everyone would do these like my statuses for a truth is. And I was never the guy that was like, hey, Brandon, to be honest, you're really hot and you're super cool. But every girl was like, hey, Brandon, you're so hilarious. And that's my lane, is I'm funny and I'm a nice guy. And so, like,
you're very handsome too.
Thank you. You guys hear that? My mom thinks I'm handsome. It's only up from here. No, but it's I mean, that's always something that happened. And then even like when I went to college, and you're in a locker room that as for once in a very rare moment, as a white man, are you the minority? Normally as a white dude, you're the whatever a minority is. I don't know what the opposite word of a minority is, but normally life's easier for you. There's more of you. You're kind of the most accepted in society. But in a locker room, you're not. It's mostly black dudes, and so we're two different cultures in a sense, and like. A lot of, black people see a lot of white people as kind of goofy sometimes, and there's definitely a cultural divide, but that was the one thing is I got a lot of, hey man, I always thought you were just some goofy white dude, but you know what? You're actually pretty funny, which I was like, that's kind of a backhanded compliment, but I'll take it, man. Thanks. So I guess, maybe I didn't see it.
Your friends always would tell me how funny you were.
Yeah.
And you were always a little more serious. So I think that's what threw me off when you said, but your friends would always tell me, Brandon's so funny.
Yeah.
He's so funny. And I'm like, my Brandon.
Yeah.
Like, why a little Brandon? Are you sure? But I loved it. I feel like it's a good fit for you because you are funny. Mm-hmm. You're very I love to watch you perform because I see the confidence up there, which is not a spot that a lot of people are comfortable with.
I think football really helped me with that. Having your performance constantly picked apart and diagnosed. And I mean, I've played in front of 110,000 people. So like crowds don't bother me at this point. It's almost, you got to perform for them. It's part of, the bigger the crowd, the better. It's kind of what football helped me prepared for, I guess. So I want to get into the questions here. A bunch of people wrote in questions, which was super cool. And I thought several of them were pretty introspective. Looking back at 4-year-old me and the personality that I had as a kid, does me doing stand-up surprise you?
Of course.
Yeah, why?
You just were shy.
I was shy? That's exactly
you were
what
shy,
said, yeah.
You were quiet, you like to feel out a room or a place before you would get going. Mm-hmm. You weren't just the loud in your face.
Yeah.
Not that you are now, but you were just so mellow.
Well, yeah, because in a sense, a stand-up comedian's a little like attention whore. Like you are the center of the room, and it's funny because if you want to break it down like this, a stand-up comedy show is basically you pay money for me to come up and show all of you that I'm funnier than you, and my only goal is for you guys to go, he's funnier than me. Because if they're like, I can do it better, that's not a good show, So it is a very like attention-based thing. And yeah, that was what Mom said, is she brought up too, the fact that I didn't speak till I was like 3, basically. I would talk in like a made-up language. I was, a rule follower, like you said, not antisocial, but like quiet and kept to himself. So
right.
Yeah, I think it surprises me too. I think maybe the first sign that ever, a moment that I always think back to of when I think that maybe like sprung the confidence of speaking in front of people type thing to me. Maybe like not what made me want to get stand up, but I remember when I started stand up thinking about this moment, gave me confidence and stuff, was I took a speech class in college, my first year of college. And it was so easy for me that I would write my speeches 10 minutes before class. I would write them in passing period, go up with like a note card and give a 5 to 7 minute speech, just winging it. And I started realizing, I'm really good at public speaking and grabbing people's attention. And then I think the first moment of like public humor I had is when we were in that class, we had an exercise where a teacher was like, because the whole point of the public speaking thing is really for the kids who are afraid of public speaking. It's to put people in an uncomfortable position, because as an adult, you just have to interact with people. Like no matter, there's not really a job, very few jobs that you don't interact with people. Dude, you talk to people all day. Mom has to know how to delicately deliver things. Those are very big speech things. So I totally get it. So they were doing something to break the ice because people are so afraid to talk. And one of the things was like, okay, you got to go. Would anyone want to volunteer? I'm going to give you 3 random prompts and you have to make a story about it. And I was like, sure, I'll do it, because no one said they would do it. And I was like, I'll do it. And then I remember it was like Justin Bieber, The Voice, and like lightsabers. And I got up and I was like, hey everyone, I'm Justin Bieber. And then I sang a made up song about lightsabers. Like I was Justin Bieber. And it murdered. Everyone was dying, laughing. I was like doing dances like I had a lightsaber. And I just randomly. And I remember that moment, like everyone's laughing. And I was like, I like this. This could be. And then really what probably drove me into stand-up was the podcast, which is kind of cool because it's like, if I ever had regrets about going to Murray, it was the loneliness and like new territory of being alone that drove me to listening to podcasts. Because when you don't have any friends and you're lonely and you're walking around school, and I don't have a car and I'm walking everywhere and you're just with your thoughts, those podcasts would drown it out. And I got into comedy podcasts, and that's what eventually led me to trying it. But yeah, I think as my own self, it surprises me.
As far as the public speaking, I remember thinking why I thought you would be comfortable doing it, because one thing about you remind me of my stepdad. When you
Shout out Don.
When you get into things and you learn things, you get pretty passionate about it.
Yeah.
So for you to speak about stuff that you actually know about,
yeah.
So I know that debating is kind of in your alley.
Yeah.
Like you like doing that stuff. So it's kind of like selling something you believe in. I believe it comes easy for you because coming from that place.
I think one of the biggest things is I have to shout out my friends, because me and my friends were always good at this, where we were like, oh my God, that guy fell. And we're like, but what if he fell and then a UFO came? Like, and then what if the UFO had aliens, but they had penises for hands? Like, and then what if they picked him up and then he became president? And we would do these stories and stories. And I think that has given me the ability to look at something like you got to see me do, I don't want to ruin the bit, but like the Prop 65 thing. Right. You heard me do that joke, the ending with the shampoo bottle. It got me having that perspective where somehow in my mind I was able to be like, imagine if that shampoo bottle was like that. And that's a ridiculous thing, but it makes me giggle. And I'm like, that's goofy. How can I work that into something? And I think I got that from my friends of just piling
things
on
just
stuff,
snowballing like that.
Yeah, because dude, I stand by this, and shout out Zach Arnold. I think Zach Arnold would be a fucking hilarious stand-up comedian. Zach Arnold is arguably my funniest friend. He makes me laugh so hard, and the things he has given me bits. Conversations with him have come up with some of my best bits of banter with him. He is a very good comedic mind, but he just doesn't have the urge to get up on stage like that. So I think that, it's different aspects that drive you to it. But I mean, even one of the, I believe I've shared this on here before too, but one of the more interesting things is the girl I dated before, Erica Sage, would try to get me into. I remember she would be like, I love stand-up. Stand-up is so funny. And I'd be like, doesn't do it for me. And she'd be like, what do you mean? I'm like, I like comedy movies. I don't like watching a guy just stand up and try to tell me jokes. And the stupid thing is I'd seen like one stand-up special. I was just making shit up. I was just saying regurgitated shit I probably read online from someone.
Right.
And I was like, and she tried to show me Bill Burr. She tried to get me into stand-up, and I refused. And then like 2 years later, I became a stand-up comic. So like,
that's funny.
It by no means do I think that there are really any telltale signs that would make anyone have been like at any point be like he should be a stand-up comic, you know?
Right.
I just don't see how that could ever have been thought by anyone.
Well, I don't think it hurts to be smart, and I've always thought you're a pretty smart kid. So
thank you.
I mean, that
it helps having interesting ways to look at things
right.
and stuff like that. It's like I was telling you, I joke with Erica because there's this show called Sherlock on BBC, and it's like with Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's like a long drawn out series of Sherlock Holmes, and his thing where he figures out things is he gets in his mind palace. And he goes, stop talking to me, and he can kind of just think in his mind, and he can be like, okay, sit there and draw conclusions. And I'm not even saying I'm like that, but I get that. Like, the best way when I can write in a stand-up joke is I'm writing and I can sit in my head, and it's almost like my eyes roll in my head, and I like can get up in there and I can like, it's almost like I can be like here and there, that, and then I can iterate it out loud, and I'm like, okay, that's the punchline. Yes, like it is, but I also sometimes I have a bad habit where like if I get in that and someone's trying to talk to me, and then I'll come out of it and I'll be like, dude, I'm so sorry, like anything you've said to me in the last 2 minutes, I haven't heard. Like I got lost in my own head, and people can see it and stuff. So it's definitely weird. I think there's traits that really helped me do stand up, but I don't think ever in my life did it look like they led a treasure map path to stand up.
Right.
This is another question. I thought this was a really good one. I believe this is from Dominic Pierno. What did you want me to be when I grew up? Like when I was, let's say like when I was, obviously I'm not saying I don't have any recollection of you guys ever being like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But let's say like when I'm like 9, so I started to develop a little bit of a personality. You're starting to kind of understand who I am. There had to be, part of you at one point had to think like, I hope he does this, or I think this would be good for him. Did you have that moment?
Well, I think when you were little, we all thought you for sure were going to be a police officer, only because you were such the rule follower.
Yeah.
And you wanted everyone around you to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And it drove you crazy when they didn't. So we're like, this kid's going to be a police officer. Not that I wanted to be, because personally it like scares the crap out of me to think you'll be it. But you know what's funny? I didn't have anything I wanted you to be other than I wanted you to love what you did. Mm-hmm. And so it didn't matter. I said, go to college, and then at least it opens doors for you so that you could decide whatever you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But it was never a matter of, oh, I hope he's this when he gets older. Because I just felt like whatever you did, you'd be successful because you've got a great work ethic. So that's really all I wanted.
Yeah, of course. I did want to be a trash man for a while. How did you feel about me wanting to be a trash man?
I just said, well, it was funny because in kindergarten, I was telling your friends this last night, is in kindergarten they had the dress what you want to be. So every kid showed up and
cowboys, astronauts, doctors, police, anything
every
but a
costume.
trash man.
Yeah, they came in as football players, baseball players, and I went out and bought a jumpsuit and put city sanitation on it. And you walked into kindergarten with your dump truck in your arm, and they said, he wants to be a trash man. And I said, he does. And I said, he'll be the best trash man in town. I'm telling you.
Dude, I was smart. I wanted that unionized job as a kid. I knew what it was about.
This is life.
That's really funny. Like that's weird. I've always been not weird, but weird. Everyone has their tics and weird things about them. But that's definitely a weird thing as a kid to be like, I want to be a trash man.
Oh, you love trash trucks. And we read you that Trashy Town book. I mean, every single solitary
Well, what is
night.
it? You said I used to, from like the ages of probably like 4 to like 9 or 10, I would hear a trash truck outside and sprint out of my room at like 6 a.m., come through the doggy door like a wild beast. No time for a door handle. I'm on dog time, dude. And I would come through there and I'd run out and I would just watch them pick up trash with the big arms.
Yeah,
like
you would stand there on on the white picket fence, because we had
Yeah.
a picket fence back there, and you would just stand there and watch it. And we would go camping at Leo Creo. We would go out there, and they would do their thing, and you would literally walk from trash dumpster to trash dumpster, and you'd watch them through the entire campground to each one. And you just wanted to watch them lift it up and dump it. And you loved all the big like machinery, like it was from that Mighty Machines show you used to watch, and you would, it didn't matter what it was.
I just can't imagine the conversations. How's your little boy? He's great. What does he like to do? Well, he speaks in a made-up language, and he chases the trash truck outside. And they're like, "Oh, how long has your son been autistic for?" You're like, I mean, props to you for never taking me to get the test, because on paper, you're like, oh, he's a really special little boy. And I'm like, I like when they pick up the trash. Like,
but you love baseball too. I mean, from when you were 2, when you first started talking, you always just look at us and say, a pitch, a ball, a pitch, a ball. And that's all you want us to do is throw the ball at you, and you just hit and you would well that ball out.
Shout out whatever in my DNA fixed me, because God, I should have grown up to be a loser. Like, I should have been one of those people that, like, shoots up a synagogue or something, not to get aggressive. But, like, yeah, what kid... Hey, guys, does this sound like a school shooter? Like I said, a guy who speaks in made-up languages, plays baseball and is obsessed with it, and his favorite pastime is chasing trash trucks up and down the street. I sound like Jeffrey Dahmer Jr. or something.
Luckily, you were always kind to animals, thank God. Yeah. Or I would have been more worried.
You were like, he pets them. He doesn't skin them, so we're good.
I found no skulls in his bedroom. I'm happy.
Yeah, passing all the criteria. So this was one that I asked Mom, and I thought this was interesting. Obviously, as a dad, you're like, I hope the best for my kid. There's nothing like that. But maybe when I got a little bit older and I started to develop a personality, what did you hope or kind of want me to get into as a career path growing up? Like, was there, maybe when I was younger, and you weren't like, I'm not saying you were like disappointed when I didn't do it, but you were like, oh, I thought this would have been perfect for you. Like, I definitely, Mom said that actually, I want to hear what you say. I don't want to influence it. And then I'll let you know what Mom said that she thought that I would have been. Or not hoping, but just kind of saw me as a child growing up to be.
It's funny. I think because of your physical ability, and being, I kind of possibly saw you getting into fire.
Okay, yeah, that was definitely something I wanted.
I just thought you could have been a big time asset. I think you can carry bodies out. You're smart. I could have seen you doing that. But you know what? I remember talking to your Uncle Jason when you guys were all really little, and you sit back as parents, and you have these kind of wish things and stuff like that. And your Uncle Jason's expectations for Travis, was to be a nice guy. And I think
that's great expectations.
Yeah, and I think that's where I started going with you too. Seeing how you can set goals and the things you could do. I don't think I ever, especially going to college and things, and the way you handled things. I mean, I got phone calls on how to cook things and a couple of what do I do here's, and then you just kind of took it and ran. The expectation I think was started going towards, first of all, that, and I knew that you were just a really, really good person. I like to see how people rally around you, so I think you fit in anywhere. So I kind of felt like you were going to find your niche. And then definitely when you came home from football and took half your stuff down and put comedian stuff up and started setting other goals.
Yeah.
I do believe in this life that we can all, work ethic is what you need.
Yeah.
First and foremost, above talent and whatever it is you pick.
Yeah.
But you can work for a living doing a lot of things.
100%.
But pursuing, trying to, giving it everything you had to go D1. If it doesn't happen, at least I tried. Same thing with this and what you're doing. I think you do that first. Why wouldn't you shoot for your dreams?
Yeah, you got to bet
first.
on yourself. That's how I've always kind of looked at it. Like I was saying this with Mom, like moving to Austin, turning down Division II offers to go to JUCO, like doing stuff like that. I've been the more like stressful moments in my life, but after now I think it's something where after seeing that going to Murray State was 100% the right choice because I have no student loan debt. I'm so glad I went JUCO. I got to go to a big school. I had to play at Georgia in front of 110,000 people. I know I rode the bench and it didn't necessarily go like I wanted to there, but like I said, being alone there got me into stand-up, which led me to Here Next. And then, you know, I thought about moving to Austin or staying in that area till things open. And I look at the scene back there and go, thank God I'm not there. And I look at how much I've progressed as a comic here. And I'm like,
You talking about Nashville?
no. I'm talking about staying in LA. I'm saying moving here.
Got you. Okay.
So like moving to Austin and then,
Right.
moving to Austin and being like, okay, did I make a mistake? And then, you know, growing as a comic here, I think I'm kind of at the point in my life, and not that I don't think everything true, because believing or following anything with blind intent, with not checking things out, is ignorant. To not, you know, think things out and stuff. But I do believe I'm kind of at the point where if I think something out, take a day to rest on it, and I think it's a good idea, I trust myself at this point, if that makes sense, which is a great belief to have in yourself. And there's times where, of course, I self-doubt myself, but in my mind, I look back, because one of the questions that I will ask you later is, I'll talk about in a second, but like I don't look back on my life and have like regrets, if that makes sense. Of course you have those moments, like we talked about this yesterday, got lost in the footage, but like when that kid took the kite from me and just walked away with it and it was gone, and it still makes me feel emotional, from angry to mad in different ways when you think about it. Of course that. But I don't think there's really anything on my life where I'm like, I fucked up. Like I'll always wish that I did that differently. I don't think I have that, which is good to have.
It's a good place to be.
So, yeah, the mom said she thought I was going to be a police officer. So very similar. So yeah, she said you were a rule follower, and I just thought you would help people. Like, and that's the thing is I've always felt like I was meant to help people, but laughter is one of the best medicines. And I think if you can, I think the way I'm going to help people is that I'm going to take people who have hardworking 9-to-5 jobs, and they take their hard-earned money to buy a ticket to come see me, and then I make their Friday night and give them the relief and break that they need from their crazy lives. And I think that's the way that I can help people. So
it's a good way of looking
at it. This one is an interesting one, and I think I know the answer to this, but I thought this was a good question. Do you feel like when if you've listened to an episode with my parents, I was created in a test tube with the power of the sun and the wind. No, I'm just kidding. I was an insemination baby, and that's why my other two sisters are adopted. So I was an expensive baby. But this question is, did you give up any personal goals or dreams to become a mother? And I know obviously you tried so hard to have me, but you also had me at 28, I believe you were? 27?
The day after my 27th birthday.
Okay, so you're 27. Yeah. So that's still very young. Obviously, it always fascinates me how different. Just are we two generational gaps, or are you the generation above me, or two generations?
One.
One, like, so yes, the 30-year-olds are like still my generation in a sense.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I don't, but like, so essentially between like, I would agree with you, because we're the kids. Your kid, your parents' kids, and we're your kids. We're just the kids of kids. So that the generation thing makes sense.
Right.
But that like the age of getting married and having kids has aggressively been pushed back compared to when you guys, like, I'm sure that you guys were even considered like late bloomers for having kids in your generation. And then if I had a kid at 27, that would still be kind of early for some people.
We were at my age. I mean, a lot of our friends had kids around the same time. Yeah. So, but compared to like grandma and grandpa, so grandma and grandpa got married when they were 18 and 19.
Yeah.
And by 21 or 22, they had like 3 kids.
But that's what you were supposed to do back then. That was life. Right. That was what life was taught for you to do.
So when we got married, we were younger getting married.
Yeah.
But then I think with all the infertility issues, we had kids around the same time as a lot of our friends.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So do you feel like that like there was stuff that if maybe you didn't have kids, there was more stuff that you were going to accomplish, or was it always kind of like work in the medical field, start a family, and it kind of just worked out for you?
No, I think you get your structure from me as far as like I knew, well, luckily you've deviated a bit from it because I'm so structured. I went straight from high school to college, started nursing school at 20.
Yeah.
I was graduated by 22, married at 23, had a house at 24. So I had all my goals in line, but ultimately I knew what I wanted to do was be a parent. I loved kids. I started babysitting when I was 11. So I was like,
That's
I
fair,
cannot wait to have kids. Like now as an adult, or a much older adult, as I look back, it's like, I think that you're doing things right. Like, I'm happy that you have traveled. I did not travel.
Yeah. But you've gotten to do that now, which is good. So that's the difference is yes, sometimes you do miss out on things with kids, but like also your trips are cooler than when I travel now because you have way more money than I do. So there's there's both. Maybe you're not having the same like go out and party in Amsterdam and Germany and drinking in the streets like I was, but you lived a lot. You lived a lot more luxurious than I did when I went, and so there's saying there's pros and cons to it. But I read that and I didn't assume that there was anything just because I know that it was such a process to have me. But I did think that was an interesting question.
It is a great question, and I went back to school later than I thought that I would have. I thought I'd have my bachelor's by 30, and I instead had it like 45-ish. Okay, 47, but
okay. Next question. So this one I asked Mom. Obviously, I explained with her that it was a process to have me. I was an insemination baby, all that. I wasn't an accident like a lot of pregnancies are. So I know that you might not have an answer. Do you feel like there's anything that would be different? Like, is there anything you felt like you didn't get to do by having kids, and not in a negative way, but maybe like if you had me even 5 years later, that you think you would have liked to have done, or maybe you had to wait to do? Do you feel like anything came of that?
You mean in my life on the side?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. You know what? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It kind of went in steps for me. I've been able to do what I want to do along the way. I've been able to live the lifestyle I like to live.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have picked what I do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was get into it, and then I put my lifestyle around it.
Yeah.
And now I mean, not only did I like what I did through it, I actually I love it in a whole different way now. And the idea that your mom and I could do what we want when we want, and that's a neat freedom to have. So,
no, exactly.
So no, I don't. There's nothing that I look back in having a kid that's kept me from doing this.
Yeah, I think it would be maybe a different question too if I like wasn't so planned.
Right.
Like it wasn't so like we've exceeded all options. Like let's pay money to do medical. That's a little more of an introspective question if you guys had me at 22 and it wasn't planned. But even I talked about this with Mom.
That's true.
You guys had me at 27 and you were 29 or 28 maybe.
No,
maybe.
I believe I was 30. Married at 25, had you at 30.
Because Mom said she had me at
I'm
the day
54.
after her. Okay, so then.
Right?
Yeah, so I'm 24. So.
Exactly, so it's 30. I was married at 25 and had.
But no, you would be 29 because it wasn't November yet.
Okay.
So yeah, because I was just doing you and
Gotcha.
Mom are always 2 years apart because I was trying because Mom said obviously I'm literally born. Mom was like you were born the day after I turned 27. So
right.
It was you were just about to turn 30. So you were basically 30. And I mean even. Like I was talking about this with her, that was a little bit like later in a sense for your generation. For my generation, it's like having kids at 30, but even grandma and grandpa, like your parents was like, it's like 18 is when you have a kid,
right?
Married by 20, house by 22, and I work till I die. Like that was the way it was set up. And so,
right.
Yeah, I didn't think you guys would have, it would be kind of cool if you came on here and you were just like, oh, boy, do I have a list of regrets. Like... First off, you fucked it up. Never got to go to this. Yeah. Never got to go to Mexico with the boys. You're like,
well, and like even the girls too is like, that was totally intentional as well.
Yeah.
Not that it made it easier by wanting them intentionally.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because having kids, it's having kids. But we definitely knew what we were getting into, and it comes full circle. Your mom and I are doing what we want now, and I'm glad I'm healthy enough to do it because it's really fun now on the backside.
Yeah,
and that we're together and we're.
She said her not a regret, but that something she wished she would have done younger that I did was travel. She said she didn't travel before she had kids, but then we talked about it. We said, hey, you guys travel now. And I do agree with you. Yes, maybe you aren't 20 with 21 running with your future wife, going through Germany, partying in Amsterdam. But you guys have a lot more money than we do, so you got to do a lot more cool shit. I didn't go scuba diving. I ain't got money to do that. So there is, there's traveling as youth is cool, but traveling as an adult is also cool because then you have money.
Right.
And, and you guys have done some cool trips with kids and without kids because they're obviously going to be funner without kids until they're a certain age where they can enjoy the same things as you. But,
right.
When you're on a vacation with 8-year-olds, you can make it fun, but they're not like, I want to go check out the Holocaust Museum. Now I'm like, dude, let's go. Like, that's so cool. But then, at 8, you're like, dude, take me to the park, Dad. Like, it's not.
Exactly. You guys, you don't have to be a destination with kids. As long as you're playing and having fun, you can be anywhere.
This is a good one. And I don't know. Someone asked this, and I thought this was a good question, but I'm not 100% sure on how this falls into your time frame of your life. Because what I was reading is it occurred in the 70s, so you were young. Do you and maybe I have it wrong, but do you remember when they switched from analog to digital clocks? Was that like when you were too young, or was it like when you were like how like what was that like?
Digital. I don't remember that as much. I remember when microwaves came out, though. Like
okay,
that was I don't remember clocks as much, but probably because I didn't care about them. I mean,
because it said it happened in the 70s, so you would have been pre-teens from when
I would have been
changed,
like 6, 7.
Yeah,
8.
which then it's like it's still even hard to just tell an analog clock. Like
right.
you don't, like you said, you're not like, hey mom, is it 7:30? I gotta be somewhere. Like you're just like, is it dark or light out? Like,
exactly. That's how your whole life was based on. Shoot, the street lights are on. I have to come in.
Yeah.
But when Grandma and Grandpa got their first microwave, we're like, wait a second.
Because how old were you before, like when you got a microwave? Probably.
I would say I must have been around 10.
Okay. So how'd you heat up food then? Like just stovetop, oven?
Yeah, that's how I mean, there was no, it was the idea when the microwave, I remember them saying, no, you can take this frozen food and cook it. And I'm like, how can you cook food?
Because
and
not
it was
frozen,
big.
They're like frozen meals probably weren't as popular back then.
Well, yeah, you put them in the oven.
Okay.
Frozen dinners. Yeah. So that's what you had. Everything was cooked in the oven. But like the idea that you could cook food in like 3 minutes blew your mind. Like it was just, and we thought it was so cool. And like, don't step too close with it. You have to stand a certain feet away.
Yeah, those were the cancer machines back then.
So you made sure you hit start and step back. It's like, okay, I don't want to get cancer from this. And it was huge.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay, I didn't think the clock thing would affect you, but I didn't even think about the microwave.
But phones, I mean, we didn't have cell phones, obviously.
You went through all generations.
Oh yeah, landlines, and we thought it was really cool when they went for the dial phones where you had to go down and it rolled all the way over into touch button ones, push buttons, and we thought that was cool. And then you would, because you'd want to talk on the phone, but you're stuck to a wall, so we got like 6-foot cords so that you could
move around the house and talk on the couch.
Try to
unplug
Grandma's phone because we would we'd have our friends call us, and I'm like, my mom would say, you can't call after 9.
Yeah.
And so we'd wait till she fell asleep, and then we'd try to sneak in a room where we're crawling.
Yeah.
As quiet as we could on the floor, like maybe.
Tiptoeing.
And you'd be like, stop for a second.
Yeah.
She's moving, and then you'd take a couple more, and literally just would get it, and she'd go, don't touch the phone. I'm like, oh, why did you do this? I just wanted my own, and finally we got our own phone line, me and your Aunt Sean.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
What the modern day of that would be like sneaking into your mom's room to turn off her like Ring camera. So you could like go out with your friends.
Exactly.
Because everyone's got a cell phone. No one's caring who you talk to. You can get a fake phone number to text people. You don't even have to have like phone service to text people.
That's true.
But yeah, I guess that would be the equivalent because it's like now everyone has rings and there's that ring. So you'd sneak in, unplug that, sneak out would be kind of the newer version.
Exactly.
That's really funny. All right, so this one we had a problem. The time frame I think is off on this. I think you guys are too young for this, but with you being 2 years younger, I wanted to see, do you remember when clocks switched from analog to digital, or were you, Mom kind of said she's like, I found out it happened in the 70s is when it started to occur.
I totally remember it.
You remember? Okay. She
Because
said she was too young because she was like, I only cared if it was like dark or light outside.
Oh, a digital watch was the most amazing thing.
That's what
those
it said was,
those
yeah.
crystals were like, what?
Yeah.
Because they actually had, what was funny is before that, they had clocks that looked digital.
Yeah.
That the metal plates actually flipped at the time.
Oh, wow. So
which was it was like a Rolodex. Yeah, it went.
Were
which
they
was
loud?
Which was no.
Okay.
But it was funny. They were that material that was glow in the dark.
Wow.
So there wasn't a light in the clock.
Yeah.
But it had that, that stuff that you could put under light. But yeah, it was just
those
all
clocks
these.
were just giving you cancer, huh? The lead paint.
Whoever painted. Yeah. Whoever painted.
That's terrible.
But it was. I remember that crystal thing was just like, what? Just watching it switch.
I don't know what it is. And it has to do with paint. This is like a very bad, I don't fully know what I'm talking about. But there's some old job that had to do with painting things where the old paint was bad and the person would lick their tongue.
It was watchmaking.
Watchmaking. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So
there's
good job, Brandon.
yeah.
You're on track. Okay. And
I forget the company.
Cancer,
oh
right?
yeah,
Hella mouth cancer.
because they would lick the paintbrush because it was. I mean, that thing had to be paper thin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're talking about a fucking clock.
They're painting numbers, hand painted on watches.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's
That's
some
terrible.
special on it. It's wild.
That's terrible. I wonder, what do you, I did not ask Mom this, but we didn't get on this kind of tangent. What do you think is going to be, just real quick, fire it off. I haven't thought about this either. What do you think is going to be the thing that medically fucks everyone right now? I mean, obviously the easy one, I think obviously vaping's way better than cigarettes, but I think we're going to be like, holy fuck, vaping's bad later. Like, kind of in the same, I don't think it'll be as bad as cigarettes, but there's no way that, my generation doesn't have some weird cancer variant that has to do with, the battery iodine that was in vaporizers that when it burnt, that chemical entered your lungs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, could it be something with the cell phone and its battery?
Cell phone maybe holding it up to your head.
Just because we have it on us the whole time, something that everybody can get.
What if because I feel like it's recently. Did you have seltzers growing up? Were seltzer drinks a thing? All these hard seltzers and shit, or is that new?
Meaning
Trulies.
Oh no,
all that. That's new shit, right?
So first energy drink was Jolt.
Okay,
that was basically cola with a ton of caffeine, and they were on their own for a long time.
Yeah.
So that was revolutionary. They were first on board from that. Yeah. And you talking about seltzers. I just remember Zima. Zima was the first clear, supposedly non-tasting alcoholic, drink, and you wanted it because you didn't have to taste it.
Okay, because that was my other maybe guess is what if the flavoring that makes seltzers has a bad material in it or some shit.
No, because they had soda seltzers that did that too.
Right, yeah.
And most sodas that are seltzers, it's really food coloring that's distinguishing. It's not the coloring that makes it taste like that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just a visual.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I think it's ignorant not to think that there's not something. Because if you look back at your generation, it's did you guys know asbestos was bad? Did you know lead paint was bad? Did you know that the early mom said she didn't remember clocks, but we talked about microwaves and how she was you got to get back as soon as you turn that thing on. I was it was just baking cancer into your stomach. So it's there's got to be something that, I'm fingers crossed, I'm dodging the bullet of whatever that next thing is.
Well, I don't know. It could be one of the 50-letter word things that are in the preservatives that we eat, too.
That thing, too. Well, that's what I mean.
There's so much of that out there. Yeah.
Could be. That's one of those things I think you have to look. It's such a corny saying, but here for a good time, not a long time. I'm not saying smoke a pack of cigarettes. Hey, I'm saying have health, have self-care, work out, do physical things, drink water, eat healthy every once in a while. But also, I'm going to have drinks. I'm going to eat bad food. I'm going to eat processed shit. I'm going to hit my friend's vape every once in a while. I get it, but, maybe when I have kids and I care more about my longevity, then I'll worry about it. But, wouldn't it be boring if I followed all the rules and then lived to fucking 90? I'd rather live an exciting life and live to 80. You can have those last painful 10 years,
right.
Fuck it.
I think it's crazy how water is such a big part of people's lives now. I mean,
drinking water was not a thing before.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody had the
These are one of the best inventions. Oh, what if these cooling things have some cancerous thing in it? But the hydro flask has got to be one of the best modern inventions because it's a way to keep your water cold all the time. But not only it made drinking water a fashionable trait. There was a while where it was oh my God, you have a hydro flask? And like girls walked around school with like their hydro flasks. And like, dude, putting stickers is still a cool thing. Like it made it like, oh dude, this is a dope hydro, bro. Right. It made water cool. Like, cause before you weren't carrying around water. Like it wasn't like that. So
well, I never thought I would go to a concert and watch somebody have death water in a koozie. It blew my mind.
Those are cool. I had the first one of those for the first time like a week ago. Very cool concept. I mean, it's
don't
just
understand
water.
it. Yeah, I don't understand it at all.
It did make me want to
because I'm learning. I don't. Yeah, it's like, are you serious? What's going on here?
I guess the real pro for it, and it's a small. I guess it's a smaller one, but it's like if you're not going to use a reusable one, aluminum is way easier recycled than plastic, and that's why
my brain just goes, who drinks water at a concert? But I wished I had drinking more water at a concert. I probably would have remembered more.
I feel you. Okay, all right. I got one last question, and then would you rather here, and then we'll wrap it up and get Dad on the podcast.
Very good.
The last question I wanted to ask you, and I thought this was a good one. What do you think my worst trait is as a son? So what I mean by that is like, am I messy? I don't clean up after myself. Like, that's what I mean. I don't live with you anymore. So, like, when I lived, what do you think was the worst trait of having me in the house? Because we can all think of it. Like, I'll crap on my sisters. Paige is very messy. She leaves things sitting around. Erica's worst trait, same thing. Messy, leaves stuff around. You know, everyone has certain bad things about them, but that doesn't mean they're, like, bad to live with.
Right. What was a bad thing about you? Well, the sad part is I like you being at home. You could have lived at home. You could have brought your wife, your kids, everybody. And I love. No, you actually were a great person to have there because you've always made a point of it to make time for everybody, and you make that very important. Mm-hmm. You always would help me cook. You eat slow like I do. So
that's true.
Some people might drive crazy. I'm thankful to have a friend at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Your mom,
you're just left alone. Yeah.
I am. Your dad and Paige and Cameron, they're like human vacuums. They just suck the food up, and I'm still sitting there, and I've had like 3 bites, and they're all gone. And so, what was a worst trait?
God damn it.
It's on silent.
I know.
Well, I don't know why it made the noise.
I just like the fear that came in your face when it vibrated.
I was warned yesterday. Y'all missed that one.
I will hang you out the window like Michael Jackson's kid if you do that shit again, okay? This is a serious podcast. We are not in a spare bedroom.
And your phone went off. I told you.
Do you know how mad everyone listening is that they had to hear your phone vibrate? Emails are flying in to never have you on the podcast again.
Please ban your mother. Yeah. She wouldn't badmouth you. She had nothing bad to say.
I think I already have an email here that says, "Dear Brandon, I love you and your podcast, but your mom's phone vibrating made me so mad. I wish I could go back in time and get rid of her, knowing it would kill you too." And I respect that because there's nothing more rude than what you just did. You could have. That is that's your worst trait. It's just the lack of respect that you have for me as a human.
Okay, I want to rethink my answers now. Can we go back and redo this?
I think you would. Yeah. I think your worst trait would be my language.
Oh, I was gonna say
because I don't think my language.
And you're driving. You drive a bit aggressive.
No, fuck you. Get over it.
The language, I'm telling you, we're in the car, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, well, here's my problem. You're the slowest driver I've ever driven with. We're driving home from San Antonio going like 40 and with no one in the lane with us. And I was like, we're going to get home tomorrow.
I was driving the speed limit for the record, yes. And you're mad at everybody on the road. I'm like, why are you so angry?
I'll tell you why. Yeah. Because the entire time I'm driving, I'm in excruciating pain in my knee. So I'm just in a bad mood when I drive. Like, watch, one day this knee will get fixed and I'll be the most pleasant driver you'll meet.
I'll get it fixed for tomorrow.
The thought of driving makes me angry because I know my old man knee will hurt.
Well, no, and I remember driving on with you and Dad. We were going to a concert down in San Diego. Mm-hmm. I don't remember which concert. And we're in the carpool lane. Now, mind you, I understand we're in the carpool lane.
Yeah.
But everybody was like at bumper to bumper. And you want to drive like 70 in the carpool lane. And I'm thinking, but one person comes over and boom, we're in an accident.
But yes, but like that's the risk of life. I mean, that's the same thing of being like, we're on a plane, one goose flies in the propeller, we're done for. The point of being in the carpool lane is that you get that luxury of not being the chumps that are in there. And like you said, we pay you the stupid premium for insurance every month. I'm not at fault if they do that. That's their fault for crossing it. So yes, I understand that maybe at the right circumstances, they cross, we flip, boom, we're all donezo. But that's divine intervention. That's the universe. I can't control it. That's our moment to go out. But I would rather go out knowing that I was going to get there way faster than all these losers who didn't drive with someone. But I do understand what you mean. There is that, when you said that, I get your fear, but that's my point of view is that like, I'm following the rules. I'm doing what it is. I can't control what other people do because we could be going 80 and someone could just slam into the side of my car.
That is true.
And that's that. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. But I do understand because it's one of those things where I don't like. There's bad drivers and there's good drivers, but everyone has like their comfort zone, and certain people cross that. Like you say, I'm an uncomfortable driver. There's so many people that I drive with that I sit in the passenger seat and I'm hitting the brake because there's that in your mind. You have the gap of length between cars in front of you. I think we have a similar one of that. I don't like to ride people unless it's a 2-lane and we're going both. You're going too slow and you need to get over. That's kind of like the move over. But like. I don't want to be, some people, their motive of driving is like a car length. And I'm like, if we slam on the brakes, you're not stopping. I get that. Yeah. That's what, when I drive with people like that, it gives me just anxiety. Yeah. So I think it's just, we all have our own weird comfort zones of like what's instilled in us of what's good driving.
Yeah, and I'm not in a hurry. I'm just whenever I drive the speed limit. I don't drive like I'm not like the old granny that's driving behind the wheel.
I think I'm young too. My reaction time's still up a little. Like I get where I like watch grandma and grandpa drive and I'm like, oh yeah, like 70, I'm gonna be driving slow as shit because like I can tell that these motor functions are gonna give out. Like, you know.
Put on the brake.
Yeah. Yeah, you going, watch out is not warning to them.
No.
It's too late if you have to yell, watch out.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to ask you one more question and a would you rather. What do you think my worst trait as a son is? And what I mean by that is when I lived at home, what was the most annoying thing? Like I threw my sisters under the bus for the last one. I'll do it again. Paige doesn't clean up after herself. Erica leaves things everywhere, and like you have to remind her, they're not big things, but they're the worst thing. Mom was so nice. She said she couldn't think of one single thing that she hated living with me, and that she said I could bring Erica and my children to live with you guys if I wanted to. I don't know if I'll be taking that offer up.
You know what's funny is I don't mean to make you shine like that, but I'm consider it when you get. You know what? I'm a big one for just picking up after yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to wake up in the morning and do your job.
Mom did eventually decide through me convincing her that it was my language. And she goes, oh, yeah, I really don't like how much you talk bad. But she was like, but it's not all the time.
Right. Hard for me to.
I think I'm good at turning it off if there's like grandma and grandpa over. Right. Or if we're like, I'm not like at our work, like, what's up, fucking Dr. Jim? Fucking suck this dick, dude. Like, I'm not talking to him like that. But I also get it that like, especially like once I moved out, now when we hang out, I'm like, hey, I say fuck a lot. Like, you just got to deal with it. I don't mean to. Don't always mean it in like in a vulgar way, but it just is unfortunately part of it.
I'm in a barbershop all day long, so that's where the volume and the four-letter words come from.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, something that I'm like, God, I'm glad Brandon isn't here because I don't have to deal with.
I know at one point I was pretty bad with dishes, but by the end of it, I was not bad with dishes.
And that's what I'm saying. You know what's funny about that? I think you even got more of a handle on that when you went out and lived on your own, which is
because no one does the dishes for you.
but which is when you learn that shit.
Yeah.
When someone else does it to you,
you're like, oh shit, man. Like
I don't need you to be,
You're like, these dishes,
Mr. Clean, but like this is gross, dude. Like,
these normally clean themselves. Why are these still fucking here? And you're like, oh damn, my parents used to do this. That's what's up.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah. That's kind of funny too, because you should have more shit than that to bitch about, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like, I think fortunately, whatever you guys instilled in me as a parent, and I thought Mom said this good. She said parenting has to do with some things, but she said, I believe kids are born with certain personality traits, and that's just who they're going to be. Because she was like, I don't think we like drastically parented you and the girls different. Like you guys all got kind of parented together, and they were like, and you all are very different, but also very similar in ways. And so like, I think somehow whatever you did, there just kind of became like a mutual respect between us. And like, while you guys were like you guys are an authority figure, you guys were also like kind of friends. I think what honestly might have helped that is being an only child for the first 5 years of my life. So it's like when I was like, what do I do? It's like, Dad, Mom, will you play with me? Like you guys were my friend, you guys were my first friends, if you think about it. You know what I mean? I didn't have you guys are the first people that I was like, I like hanging out with them, so it makes sense.
Right.
Their first friend was a fucking bucket that was also their shitter in a toy, like.
Right.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. With
It was the rat that ate their other sister, like
zero attention.
Yeah. So I get it. Okay, so this last would you rather, I thought this was good because we both love to cook. We cook together often. Would you rather never eat onions and garlic, never eat potatoes, or never eat beef again?
Oh.
Now, see, the beef, I'm going to change it a little bit. Let's change beef to meat because I love beef. But you can very easily enjoy chicken, pork, shrimp, fish, and fake beef that's higher quality, like all kinds of things like that. So I'm going to say no meat, no potatoes. So that means, no French fries, no tater tots, no baked potatoes, anything that uses potatoes is out. And then, or never eat onions and garlic.
I would have to go no potatoes because onions and garlic add such great flavor.
That's what I was going to say.
And then, like you said, if you just said purely meat, like steak,
it's easy.
I would just say, oh, I love a steak. But there's a lot of options. But all meat, no, I like meat, unfortunately. Yeah. So I could not do.
Now, what? Okay, because I agree with you. Because, the onions and garlic, you almost want to say, because you're like, how often do I order an onion or a garlic? But then you forget, like, that good steak you have is cooked with onions and garlic. And there's onion powder on it. There's garlic powder on it. That burger from In-N-Out has grilled onions on it. Like, all these things have onions and garlic, and like you said, it's a key thing in a lot of things. I'm sure a good cook right now is like, oh, all right, whatever, that would be hard, but I could work around it. I could find.
I could use onion powder instead of onions.
Yeah, but
garlic
then so my thought is what if you included no starches? So like
no rice, no grain,
no meat, and no onions and garlic or onions and garlic seasoning. So no garlic salt, no onion powder, nothing like that. That makes it a lot harder then.
Yeah, now that's really hard.
I still and I know this is a crazy answer. I still think the best answer would be no starches, because I look at it like this. I think of like a burger. All it would be is a burger with a lettuce wrap, which is still great.
That's
but
how
now
you
if you took a burger with no onions and garlic, or you just do a grilled cheese, it's not as good. No more steaks. Like, I think, as much as I love carbs, don't get me wrong, I'm a slut for carbs, like, I love me French fries. I told you, sandwich has got to be one of my favorite meals.
Right.
But looking at it realistically, I feel like you could survive better getting rid of carbs and enjoying the other things, and you'd probably be in the best shape of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
With having enjoyment. Whereas, like, you could get out meat and still probably be in great shape, but, like, I don't want to be a vegetarian.
I was gonna say, all the vegetarians in the group are going, wait a second, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Just give up meat.
No, I'm sure that's easy for them. But yeah.
But I like a steak, and I think because of my band, I don't eat a lot of the breads anyway. So for me, it's not that far of a fetch just to go. I mean, I only can eat In-N-Out French fries, extra well done.
Yeah, French fries would be the hardest thing to miss with that, but you could.
Pizza you'd have a hard time with, but you could have
cauliflower pizza, which is honestly not that bad.
No, it's not.
And that's what I'm saying. If you do the other one where you're like, if you did no veggies as that third one, it's way harder with that. I think the best one is no carbs, and then honestly no meat probably falls best, because I think even as somebody who's not a big veggie person, I don't think you realize how terrible it would be to only eat meat and carbs like that. You would feel the way you would feel would just be those people who do those carnivore diets say they poop their pants when they first started because their body is like, what the fuck?
Ease up a little on this, please. It's just too, but it was, and all of those, they don't sustain. That's the problem with them, is it's too hard. But to get rid of seasonings, that's what, I mean, if you just were given a pound of hamburger with no seasoning, it's pretty gross.
Oh, yes.
It tastes terrible.
Terrible.
And even a steak without seasoning on
it's not good.
It's not that good.
A slab of meat by itself is not good. It needs salt and marinade and shit like that.
Chicken, I mean, I love chicken, but I like chicken with the seasonings because the worst,
boiled chicken and tell me if you enjoy that.
Boiled chicken is so gross. That totally is what I thought too.
Looks like an organ donor's kidney. It's just this gray blob. Dude, you make it by boiling water, dropping chicken in, and then salt is optional. And that is the only thing you have to do for making a dish like that.
And it's just boring. I
It's
mean,
the epitome. It's like the whitest food you
Yeah.
could make is like boiled chicken and white rice.
but but you couldn't have the white rice. You'd have to just boil chicken.
Yeah, just boiled chicken.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
That would not be. Definitely get rid of the carbs.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing the
Thanks
podcast.
for
It's
having
always so
me.
fun to have you on. The guests love you. Guys, thank you so much to anyone who wrote in questions. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
We kind of talked about this last time. My mom's a nurse. I'm not going to tell you what hospital she works at. She has nothing to plug. So the way that you can support her is by supporting me, because me succeeding makes her happy. So
It does.
support me and enjoy the rest of the episode with my dad. We'll see you later.
See you later.
This was a great podcast. I love this. This was super. I liked getting introspective with both of you. Very fun. We had some fun moments, some serious moments. It was so good having you guys in town. I do real quick want to ask you one more would you rather. And I thought this was the perfect would you rather for you. I didn't come up with this one. I just found it on Reddit. And I feel like it's going to pick on both sides of your heartstrings. Would you rather live in a smart home, completely automated, so there's no buttons, everything's done through your phone, voice commands, or would you rather live in a beautiful cabin with no internet in the woods? Because I could see you liking both.
Yeah.
But I think while you hate technology, you've also came around to some technology. I think, dude, I mean, you're the voice texting king. You only voice text now. Can't voice text no more. You got no internet. Like,
If you don't have that.
you've started to get used to you use a French press now. I know you got timers on that, dude. You got a Traeger grill with a phone in it. Our oven works with a phone. The Christmas lights. Hey, Amazon, turn those lights on. But I also get that sometimes it's annoying where you're like, yo, like, why can't I just do it by hand? Like, why do I gotta like order my food through an app and call someone and have it bring it? Like, why can't I just call the restaurant like the good old days and have them drop a pizza off? Why do I gotta download an app? Like,
I don't want to be a.
I'm picking smart home. I mean, I've done this where I
wouldn't see you absolutely.
I 100% will not back off the fact that I could not live without the internet. Not possible. I would hate my life. I would hate it. I hate reading. I don't know what else to do if you don't have the internet. Everything else I like. My favorite things are watching TV, watching sports, and video games. I need electronics for all of those.
Yeah, it would be hard to live without. I don't know.
What if
Part of me would kind of like to do the other. I'd like to see what I would do with the free time that those things eat. I'll tell you what, I don't think I would miss it near as quick as other people. I think I think I could absolutely go out and find stuff to do. I do still think taking the long way to do things is, I kind of like it. But I enjoy Netflix. I like learning on that, and I don't.
So hear me out. Let me pitch this to you. A little variation where I think I can make them little wiggle room, but just that. All right, we're gonna give you the cabin. No no phone service and no internet, but you have a jailbroken Fire Stick that has every movie and TV on it. You can write letters. We'll write you every once in a while. You know what I mean? Yeah, but now this smart home has all the tech that you want, but you can also it's not. Let's say it's not a full smart home. It's more. Let's say it's more like our house with the level of technology, but it's a tiny home. You know what tiny homes are? Are you kind of familiar with those?
Yeah.
Like the ones that are basically 400 square feet, but every necessity's in it, and they're in these storage containers. Now, what are you picking? A little bit of a variation.
I kind of like the small house.
Small house, yeah.
Well, what's so funny is I don't. If you were to track where I move around in my house and the square footage that is,
I guess that's fair.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, I go in my, if I had the family room and then somewhere to lay my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at the point. I came from small, and I like our house, but I could live on a boat pretty easily.
Okay. Now, one more variation: smart home, mansion, cabin with the stuff, but it's a tiny home cabin. Are you taking the mansion with all the technology, or the tiny home cabin, but you got?
I get all the stuff.
Yeah. You're almost like Walter White in the end of Breaking Bad when he's up in Montana.
I kind of like the small still. I like easy to keep up with, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really do.
I love technology, but it is funny. I don't know what it is in me. Maybe it's the TV I grew up as a kid. Maybe it's the white boy in me. But sometimes when I'm driving on these 2-lane highways and I see these houses in the middle of nowhere with a giant yard, and there's some part of you that's like, wouldn't Wouldn't it be beautiful to drive your F-150 45 minutes into the market, come home to your kids, no one's around, 2 acres. Like, there's almost something where you're like, that would be sick. But then I immediately am like, I would fucking hate that. Like, I'm a city kid. Like, I'm meant to be at least on the edge of a city probably my entire life.
I don't know that I need that kind of solitude, but slower.
Yeah.
You know, less people, I could do that. In a beautiful place, though.
I'm like Jack. Remember, our dog Jack, how he'd go to the dog park and he would turn into a lap dog and he'd jump in your lap and he was scared of all the tiny dogs. I'm a tiny person in a large man's body because, like, I'm so fast. I think it'd be so cool to live in a van. So cool to live in a tiny home. They're so cool looking, so efficient. Dude, you know how fucking terrible it would be for me to live in a tiny home at 6'3", 200 pounds. I would be miserable. I would hit my head on every roof.
Be like Elf.
It'd be terrible. It would be absolutely terrible. But there's something about me where I'm like, I want to do it. Like, and I don't know why. So
Right.
I'm going. So with the original one, you're going. We're picking opposites. Let's see what the. To no surprise, on it's Reddit. It's younger kids. I get 115 of the 135 said the smart home.
Of
Only
course.
20 said the cabin. But I thought this one was interesting. I knew it would spark kind of a longer debate because I did think it kind of captures both of your personalities. Technology, were so reliant on it, but you hate technology. And it's like you would like being alone, but you would miss technology.
I don't hate technology.
I think you've changed from that. I think 6 years ago you did kind of hate technology.
And that might have been some ignorancy on not knowing how to do it. But I just find there's that place of busy work. For me, the idea that people can't do nothing for a second kind of trips me out.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
It's just one constant.
It's a terrible habit.
There's
I pull my phone out all
yeah.
the time. Sometimes I just open apps and I'm not even looking at what I'm scrolling. I just
And
do it.
you're still young. You're probably going to hit some point where actually just being is okay.
Yeah.
Those few moments that you get to do that in life are nice.
I even try to do that now because
it's a good
I'm
practice.
trying to grow my social media, so it's like you're always posting things, posting clips, post on your story. You got to post every 2 hours so your story stays near the front of the algorithm in the feed. And there's times where, like, especially if I'm planning a show and I'm working on other things and I'm so in my phone that, like, when I finally get done, I, like, give my phone to Erica because I'm, like, looking at my phone is, like, giving me, like, a headache. Like, it's exhausting me. And I felt like I haven't been present in a moment in hours. And I need to just, like, reground myself in reality, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's a reboot on yourself.
Exactly. All right, dude, this was fun. This was great. That was all the questions I wanted to ask you. We got in a solid podcast, you and Mom. I think it'll be really fun for the listeners and you guys, if you check it out, to see the compare and contrast between what you guys said and answered them together. I think I might edit this where every question it cuts between you, lets our tangents go. There's kind of like a cutoff every time I re-ask you a new question, or it might just be Mom then you. I haven't figured out exactly what, but I think either way, people will enjoy it. I'll plug your stuff for you because I know you're not the best with social media. So guys, if you live in Orange County and you need a great haircut, I know that I'm not a great example of a haircut right now, but if you need a haircut, go check out my dad's barbershop, Straight Up Barbershop in Orange County, STRAIT space UP Barbershop. You know how to spell it. Find it on Instagram, Straight Up Barbershop, one word. The link is in the bio. One of the best haircuts, boys atmosphere. If you like the atmosphere of this podcast, there's no way you wouldn't like the atmosphere of the shop. So please go support, follow the Instagram, check it out, do all that stuff. Other than that, anything else that they got t-shirts, all that you can get, merch. The last podcast, support your local barbershop, one of my favorite shirts. Other than that, guys, today is Monday, April 4th when we're recording this. I have some shows next week, so nothing to plug this week. I will be filming episode 2 of Your Last Review, so in late April, expect a new episode. You guys will enjoy it. We're going to do a dessert place this time. You know how much I love those. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for listening. If this is your first time or your 105th time, I appreciate you, and most importantly, thank you for letting us be your last resort. See ya.
This has been a Your Last Resort production.